I always like to start out with why. Why are we doing this? And the reason we're doing it, excuse me, is because the present economy is totally screwed up because it is based on a single bottom line, where co-ops are based on a triple bottom line: people, planet, and profits. If you manage to pick this sheet up, it is sort of the latest stats on the distribution of income and wealth in this country. You can look at it later, but basically it is getting worse. You probably already know that, but it has gotten to the point where the top 10% own 58.2% of the wealth of this country. It is ridiculous. And if even when, you know, pop magazines, light magazines like Maclean's start promoting on the front pages who earns what, and you start to see things like, you know, Justin the Bieber getting 88 million, basketball stars like Andrew Wiggins getting 5.5 million, Galen Weston 4,700,000. It's gotten out of control. The economy is, the structural issues in the economy are driving this inequality, and co-ops are a way of changing that. The other problem is that people have lost touch with what the value of money is. People, you know, the classic bare naked ladies, if I had $1 million, everybody hums that. Well, now, of course, with the average price of a house in Toronto at $550,000, if I had $1 million, isn't that much? But again, people have lost touch with how much money there is out there, and there is a huge amount of money out there. So, Linda McQuaig, fantastic book, Trouble with Billionaires. I highly recommend it. Opening statement, trying to get people to understand the value of money. Not the value of money, the amount of money. So if I said to you, I'll give you $1 every second, and I'll just keep giving you $1 every second, how long would it take you to become a millionaire? Tick, 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 tick. 12 days. 12 days. Smarty. 12 days. But, okay, if I keep, and I know the answer coming, if I keep going, how long will it take you to become a billionaire?
Until my morals wash away with the force of all your money.
How long? 32 years. That's the problem. It is so much bigger. So people toss around these figures of billions, and you know what these ultra rich are making. It has gotten way out of hand. So, what are we going to do about it? The co-op model has been around since 1844. Think about it, that the economy and the way it's structured wasn't always this way, right? It more or less happened during the Industrial Revolution that the growth of capitalism happened. At the same time, there was another economic model purported, and that was the co-op model. And in 1844, you're going to see a shot of sort of the original store, the original co-op, consumer co-op that was started. And there was other experiments before, but the one that we sort of go with now as the origins is the Rochdale Co-op, and that's where the original principles came from. And it's interesting though, because even when they started, they got opposition from the owners and the people who were controlling the situation at the time. They were in Rochdale. They went to go and buy the basic products. There was about 24 of them got together. They pooled their money and they said, let's start up a little store because we don't like the company store. When they went to buy the products from the local people to start their own store with their own money, they wouldn't sell to them. They had to go to Manchester, to the market, literally overnight, and came back with a wheelbarrow full of flour, basic flour, candles, other grains, and basic products. When they got to the store that they had rented, this Rochdale Toad Hall, they had gas. They thought they had booked with the gas company to have lighting. They cut them off because they didn't want them to succeed. And so they had to use the candles that they were going to sell to their members to light the store, to run the store. So again, I just wanted to put that out to you. There it is, right there. It's still there. It's a store. And so the original, and it's still there, sort of like the Mecca for co-ops and people go there. And the other Mecca the gentleman mentioned, he was in the Basque region, in Mondragon, right? Yeah, we can talk about Mondragon later. Fantastic example. Okay, so if you go to the next. So the co-op movement is huge. There are over 1 billion members worldwide. It's just that, again, in Ontario, it's not as well known. But it is a major economic driver in many, many countries. There's over 1 million jobs, but the big difference is that it's based on principles. It's based on certain values and principles. Can you change that? Oh, here's some examples. Again, you've already mentioned it, and it was nice to hear that a number of you are members of it. You know about Mountain Equipment Co-op. Urbane Cyclist. Anybody remember Urbane Cyclist? Yeah, you are? Great, yeah, great worker co-op. Then there is, and again, the National Food Co-op that Hannah's involved with, the Ontario Organic, the local organic food co-ops is sponsored by the Ontario National Food Co-ops. Next slide, please. There's Solar Share. People are familiar with Trek and the turbine down in front of the CNE, and now they have all these solar products that you can invest in and help. I mean, the roofs should be covered with solar panels. Why wouldn't they be? The big distinction, though, I'll dwell on that for a second, renewable energy co-ops. The Liberal government had a major problem with backlash from landowners, in particular out on Lake Huron, around wind, because if they had gone with the recommendation that we made, which was to have the people own it through co-ops, then there wouldn't have been this sort of infighting between neighbors. I don't like where it's placed over there. It's interrupting my view. But gee, I get a check every month. That's not so bad. Well, maybe if we moved it over here, that's okay. We all benefit from it because we all own it. We all get a little monthly check from it, as opposed to what's happening now: divide and conquer. Companies come in, they go to one farmer, they go to one owner, and basically it's divide and conquer, causes problems. So we should have had more renewable energy co-ops, and Solar Share and Trek are doing a wonderful job, and there's lots of growth in the renewable co-op sector. Luna Co-op is a student. There we go. Is a student co-op at York. Fantastic group of students who've got together to supply their own, fair trade coffee and good food products. And then Common Ground Co-op is a group of people with development disabilities who have come together, and instead of being institutionalized and not having any say in their daily activities and their involvement in the whole process of living, they have formed a co-op with the parents, and they have several different businesses, coffee sheds and catering businesses, which they control. They are members, and the participation and involvement and sense of ownership is fantastic for them. Next slide, please. So, what makes a co-op co-op? Next. Basic values. I don't think anyone, this isn't a gathering of Ford Nation, is it? I don't think anyone would be opposed to those values. Democracy, again, being one of the key issues. Self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, solidarity. Democracy. Again, I want to focus on that just a bit. It's so important. It hasn't been around for all that long. Who knows the meaning of democracy? The word. Democracy. Rule by the people. Right? And before, it was monarchy. And again, look at the women in the crowd. When did women get to vote in Canada?
1912.
Right, close. 1920, 1919. Aboriginal people didn't get to vote till the 60s. The whole issue of race and the division in the States and in Canada. I mean, democracy is a revolutionary concept, and co-ops, it is key to co-ops. One member, one vote. Okay? And next one, please. So it's based on these 7 principles. So again, the present system only has one principle: return to the shareholder. And in the present system, shares vote. In co-op system, people vote. And they're based on those 7 principles. And those are key. That's what makes us different. And very, proud to promote all those values, and in particular, number 7, concern for community. And summarize it by sort of saying triple bottom line, because a lot of people can relate to that. People, planet, and profits. Got to have all 3. It's got to be a win-win-win. And as you well know, I'm sure that social inequality, I mentioned it right at the beginning, we haven't even talked about the environment. And the environment is being screwed by this present system. We're all being oppressed by it. So, these are the 7 principles that you want, if you do believe in or you feel you can support, then a co-op is for you. Next, please. So, any particular business you can think of, I can tell you a co-op for. From cradle to grave. There literally are, childcare co-ops, there are funeral co-ops, there are car co-ops. It's based on a need for a service or a product or something to create employment. We can form a co-op to do that. And so it creates jobs, it meets members' needs, it supports the triple bottom line, it builds local prosperity. How many people heard about the Heinz plant closing in southwestern Ontario? Or the Kellogg's plant closing in London, right? That would not have happened if decisions were made locally. It was controlled more locally. That decision was made in New York. And sure, co-ops aren't immune to changes in the economy because we are living in a capitalist economy. But if there is more local control, then the decisions are more likely to be made to benefit the local area and the local people and the local employment. So it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than what we've got. So again, enhances democratic participation. And ironically, and this is the part that frustrates me when I go to talk to the provincial government. If I came to you and I said, here's a method you can follow, and here's another method you can follow. Oh, and by the way, this model, is twice as successful as this one. And the provincial government of Quebec, which is very supportive of co-ops, has done 2 long-term return on investment studies. And they showed that after 1, 5, and 10 years, the co-op model, the survival rate in all sectors, is overall double the private sector. Why is that? Because you own a piece of the pie. It's like the WestJet owner ads. We're owners. Now, of course, WestJet isn't exactly a co-op, but at least it's true that the staff, that they have a piece of the pie. If you have a piece of the pie, and this is what everybody keeps talking about in terms of entrepreneurship, promoting entrepreneurship, it's you have an invested interest. Or it's part of your community. You need that store. You need that service. You want that childcare. You're sick and tired of having too much traffic on the roads. You want a car co-op. So that's the difference. That if you own a piece of the pie, then you're likely it's not guaranteed because there's all kinds of other issues and there's market issues and I can give you examples of failed co-ops, but it's more likely to survive. Next one. So, there's different types of co-ops. Consumer, producer, employee, multi-stakeholder. Next one, please. Can't really see it that well, but it's really basic structure. It's similar to any corporation in the sense that oh, by the way, the term corporation, it drives me crazy because that there are 3 types of corporations. Everybody thinks you talk corporation, you think private corporation. No, there's non-profit corporation, there's a private corporation, and there's a cooperative corporation. It's just a way of organizing. It's a way of bringing. It's actually corporations. Interesting enough, are models of cooperation. It's just that they're not democratically controlled. So you elect the members, elect the board, and the democratic function is the top function where they have the ownership and they set the policies. They hire the management. The management implements the policies, hires staff, does whatever the service is. The difference is it's controlled by the members. Next one. A worker co-op is even more democratic, I would argue, because it's the people who actually work there who do the hiring and do the election to the board and control it. And interesting enough, this gentleman coming from Mondragon, Who's heard of Mondragon? Mondragon in Spain. I highly encourage you to, if you want to be inspired, Google it and look it up. It's in 4 different languages. It is an area in Spain that Co-op was started in 1955 with 5 people. It's now 85,000 members. Worker Co-op. They have their own bank, their own research facilities, their own, I think, 95 supermarkets. They have car parts. They do bicycle building. All kinds of stuff that they do, and it is a democratically owned organization. The ratio between the bottom person and the top CEO, no more than 9-1. In many cases, 6-1. What's the ratio here in Canada or in Ontario between the, by and large, average ratio between workers and CEOs? Anybody know? 157 times. And in many cases, of course, you can think of like the Walmarts of the world, 1,000 times. It is unjust. Next, please. So, some nearby, we already mentioned some of them. Urbane Cyclist, Big Carrot. Big on Green is a sustainability consulting group. Fact you're going to hear from. And Together We're Bitter. Somebody wanted to open up a brew pub. Who is that? Yeah, there's a brew pub in. We're working with a group in Waterloo, Kitchener-Waterloo. Yeah. Together We're Bitter, eh? Great, man. Great. Yeah, it's beauty. Planet Bean Cafe. It's a worker co-op in Guelph. I was involved with that. Helped start that. And interesting concept, fair trade, organic fair trade clothing, and trying to promote a fair trade economy. Next, please. So a producer co-op would be like Gailey Dairy, Organic Meadow, where the farmers come together. Instead of selling their milk and just getting the money from the milk, let's make ice cream, let's make yogurt, let's make, value add, just like any good corporation does, vertical integration. But the difference is the money goes back to the farmers and better wages for the employees. So it's a producer co-op. They come together to, they elect the board implements, hires the staff, and they do the distribution, marketing, and all the stuff that's involved in any corporation. Next one. There's Gailey, Organic Meadow, Artist Co-op, Beau Arts in Brampton, Co-op cabs. People seen Co-op cabs in town, right? Yeah.
I thought they were like cooperate with teachers.
Say what? Okay.
I had no idea.
Contemporary. Well, a lot of people think the word, the insurance company, the cooperatives, just a cute name. It's a co-op. It's a co-op. It's the largest car insurer, Canadian car insurer owned company in Canada. IDI, independent distributors. There's again, it's like a bulk buying is what a lot of people, when they think of cooperating, and they say they're independent owners of companies, but they want to bulk buy goods to save money. So it's a good service. How many know that Best Western Hotels is in essence a buying co-op? Yeah, it's all owned by the individual owners of those hotels, but they come together to market, to bulk buy, to promote a quality standard. Agris Co-op is an energy co-op, but they also sell grain. It's a farmer co-op. So again, anything you want, you can do it in terms of co-op. Next, consumer co-op. I think I've already said that. That's like a MEC. Started with 4 or 5 people 42 years ago, and look at it now. It's 3.5 million members or something like that. But again, if we want to talk about the good and the bad, MEC has to become more co-op-like. People have to be more conscious of that it is a co-op, but it's doing really good things. It has great sustainability practices, good hiring practices, all kinds of good stuff, and it'll just keep getting better. Next. Multi-Stakeholder Co-op. I'm gonna defer to Hannah on this later because she'll talk about it in more detail. But again, multi-stakeholder co-op is you have to have a win-win-win. You have different stakeholders. You have the employees, you have the farmers or producers, you have the people who eat the food. It's got to be a win-win. Farmers want the highest price, workers want the highest wages, consumers want the lowest price. It's got to be a sweet spot, otherwise it doesn't work. Next. So again, role of members and board, very similar to any business, any successful business. You got to have good management, you got to have a good business plan, you got to have all these things, and the members elect the board sets the policies are implemented by the staff. I don't think there's anything really unique. I'm just conscious of the time, so I want to give lots of questions time, and I see Larry looking at me back there. So. Next. So, like in any business, there's lots of issues around, say, governance and how, it's one thing to talk the talk, but it's another to walk the walk. So, being cooperative and managing properly in any business, any organization, any group, any club, same in a co-op. You got to work at it. You got to work at it, and you got to live the values. Got to walk the walk. There's some groups, smaller group in particular, in startups. There's a grant reliance issues. CSI faces that all the time. Energy dissipation. Sometimes any small business, a startup, it takes a long time to get off the ground. You can lose your energy. You need support. That's why it's good to be part of a federation or a part of a support organization like on Co-op. We have something called a Co-op Development Committee. Hannah's on that committee, and we help people get going. Why reinvent the wheel? We can supply you with information so you don't waste as much energy in startup. Membership engagement, Mountain Equipment Co-op, 3.5 million members. I think the last time I checked, only 33,000 voted out of 3.5 million. But, on a worker co-op, everybody would vote because it's your day-to-day thing. Anybody member of the Big Carrot? Somebody said they knew about the Big Carrot? No? Big Carrot, very successful. 65, 70 members, something in that area. Very successful, very high level of participation. And democracy must meet the needs of the customers. Next. Survival rate, I already talked about. It's you own a piece of the pie, or it's something in your community you want to survive. I can give examples of that later. Next. So, 10 steps. There's a great little sheet over there, the 10 steps to business development. There are all kinds of organizations out there who can help you with business development. And CSI, the Toronto Enterprise, there's 57 small business enterprise centers in Ontario. There's 61 community future development corporations. There's innovation centers. There are people out there to help you with the business part. We can help you with the governance co-op part, incorporation, sort of the co-op piece of it. But really, business is business. So you identify the need, you get the group of people together, you do the feasibility study to make sure it makes sense. You then move to a comprehensive business plan. You work on your organizational structure, who's going to be the president, who's going to be the manager, who's going to be the secretary, all that stuff that any business has to do. Next. You incorporate, costs you $335 if it's a with share, which is considered the profit-making co-ops, $155 if it's a without share, which is considered the non-profit co-ops. You go out and raise, you work with and recruit more members if it's appropriate for like a consumer co-op or a producer co-op. You got to raise the capital. You have your first meeting, and you hopefully move to that stage where you cut the ribbon and open the business. So again, it's not that different from any other business. Next. The process, anybody who's ever done business development will tell you, it is not linear. You don't follow the 10 steps like that right away. It jumps around. But overall, that's what you got to do. A range of skills, and don't try to do something that you really don't want to do or you don't feel passionate about. Find somebody who likes to do accounting. Do not make yourself do that if you do not want to do that. There are people who love numbers. Have them be part of your group or hire them. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They sit down, they avoid it, and they come to the pile receipts and HST submissions, and they put it off and they put it off, and then one day it's too late. Make sure you get the right people. Do not reinvent the wheel. We have information for you on our website. CSI's got tons of it. All these different groups out there. It's not a mystery anymore. It's more about your energy and your passion, and your commitment and your idea. That's it. I rushed that. I'm sorry for being a motor mouth, but I did have 2 great coffees down there.